As we say hello to TSN Hockey Insider here on the Insider Hotline. Hello, Dregs.
Dregs, morning.
Hey, fellas, good morning. I just did the most ridiculous thing, in a while. So, and anybody who's watching this is going to go, okay, these are first world issues here. But we have cleaners that come into the home once every couple of weeks. Not everyone, not once a week. You know, my wife and I are empty nesters. Not that big of a deal, right? You run a vacuum here, there. Anyway, we've got company coming in this weekend. So it's going to be an aggressive clean. So prior to the cleaners arriving in 20 minutes, I did the cleaning. Vacuumed.
Happens at my house.
I even scrubbed a toilet. Like, what are we doing here?
I know.
I was doing it. I'm like, I mean, we're not savages for starters. So it wasn't like I had to address an issue so that the cleaning staff didn't have to. I did it because I want my house nice and clean for the cleaning staff.
For the cleaners. It's very nice.
Clean for the cleaner.
Well, you
That's
can't.
Western Canadian right there, Dregs.
Yeah.
That's what that is. You're going to have people over. You got to have some food, some drinks out, and a nice clean house. It's just who you are. It's not your fault.
Well, and then the battery died on the Dyson, and I was annoyed by it. And then I'm distracted because it's a day when the roster freeze is kicking in. And my phone isn't really buzzing. I don't want to give you guys the wrong impression here, but I'm distracted because I'm wishing it would buzz with some activities. So I'm like, all right, we'll do something that
Then you wouldn't have to clean a toilet.
Yeah, exactly. But there I was scrubbing the toilet, and then the vacuum died, and I was pissed off. So
Same thing happens at our house. We get, I think it's like every couple of weeks, 2 to 3 weeks, and the notice goes out. Okay, you need to clean up because the cleaner's coming. And the kids have that same reaction. Like, well, what the hell is it?
What's the cleaner for? If we have a cleaner.
Yeah. But anyway. I do have some, I've done the same thing. I'll call it poop guilt. Sometimes the toilet, you just don't want the cleaners going out and being like, you should see what happens in that house.
The Nolberg house. I don't know
if they let wild animals come in there. Like, are the dogs toilet trained? Because
that's always post your Christmas party when you're sampling like 17 different types of booze.
You hear some kind of jackhammer up in the ensuite of what are they?
Either one and two things. Call it the Paint the Bowl Classic or the Boomer Memorial, because either one is going to be true.
We'll get the shirts made. Yeah,
The Boomer Memorial.
Speak well of the dead. So we're on it. The trade freeze is at 1 o'clock Mountain. It's 10:36 as we do this. Artemi Panarin feels like it. I don't. Everybody wants to get stuff done before the deadline. Rasmus Anderson was dealt. I'm sure there's some other things, but it feels. You tell me. Is Panarin a Ranger in 3 hours from now?
Likely, just because that's a big file to close if you're Chris Drury and the New York Rangers. And the fact that it's been percolating, it's been out there for several days now, makes you believe that if it were going to happen, it would have happened by now. But again, I do have to allow some wiggle room in all of this because things can change with a simple phone call to Paul Theophanos, who represents Artemi Panarin. And the message is, okay, we'll meet you at whatever specific ask you need on a contract extension. Or Theophanos reaches back to some of the clubs that have explored interest and says, we've had a change of heart here, and we're not as invested. It's not paramount to this deal getting done that we get the extension. I don't feel like the latter is more likely, but you're drifting into a break here, and then you've got a 12-day window, and then the pressure kind of shifts back on Panarin to some degree. So it seems unlikely it gets done between now and 1 o'clock, but again, stranger things have happened. It's possible.
It's such a weird spot because Panarin controls the whole thing. It's kind of like Giroux. It's kind of like Marchand.
Yeah.
And so Chris Drury is going to get put in a tough spot here because the team that, if he says, I want to go to X, hey, Drury, we'll give you a second. Like, what do you do? He's a UFA this summer.
Yeah. You can't walk, right? You just, and I mean, most believe that Artemi Panarin is a high quality guy who wants to chase the Stanley Cup. Well, you're not chasing that Stanley Cup in July, when you're picking your next favorite team. But again, if there is a sudden or even a little bit of a change of philosophy or heart in this, and he's willing to consider a team like Dallas as an example, then I think Dallas would have some interest. But Dallas sources this week said that their interest is now limited, and they're more likely to stand pat until the end of the Olympic break and then see what's available to them when March 6th rolls around. So there's a team that was interested in Artemi Panarin on a pure rental scenario that is backing off. And guys, maybe that messaging is coming from across the board, with the exception of, I think Washington is still pretty keen. I'd be surprised if the Carolina Hurricanes aren't still very keen, but worst case scenario is the obvious one. And that's Artemi Panarin just saying, I've had enough. And, I'm just going to sit tight, and I'm going to pick my best location in July 1 as an unrestricted free agent, because I don't want to have to move twice. That would be worst case.
Yeah. So does this have those kind of Rasmus Anderson vibes where an extension as part of a trade is great for the Flames because they would potentially get more in return? And then it gets down to the point. Okay, so there's not going to be, if a Panarin deal is done, is it safe to assume there's no extension?
No, I don't think that's entirely safe, because, I think it was Pierre LeBrun who mentioned it on Insider Trading last night, that there's at least one club that has pushed an extension in the territory of $40 million. So we're assuming on a 4-year term, $10 million a year. That's less than what we understand he would prefer. I think he was more comfortable around $11 million per, and his thinking is, hey, I've proven that I've been a point leader for the New York Rangers during my time here, and I feel like I have 4 more good years. So, maybe if he likes the destination, we don't know which team would have been offering that $40 million, or at least being comfortable in that conversation. Maybe there is enough wiggle room between now and 1 o'clock where the extension could be part of it. That has to be what Panarin and Paul Theophanos are expecting or wanting, or at least hoping for.
We talked a little bit about Dallas yesterday.
Yeah.
Partially with what they're going to do with Jason Robertson. He's got a contract that he needs at the end of the year, RFA. Yeah. Wyatt Johnston is a young superstar, and Heiskanen and Harley on the back end. And I think the goalie's good, and they've got Rantanen. Yeah. Jim Nill's a sharp guy. Not to say that he's frugal necessarily, but this is a team that's been to the Final Four and has been really close in a while, and it feels like the window is still very much open. What's your vibe on Jim Nill? Does he take a plunge one of these years, or because he didn't get Rasmus Anderson, and it seemed like he'd be a great fit? We keep hearing about Blake Coleman and other players, but I just wonder if he is so true to his instincts and his laurels, if you will, that less is maybe more.
And do they need someone to take more? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's fair.
Right shot D.
Always looking for a right shot D. Always. Every team in the league is looking for that piece. And if you're Vegas, that's why you were as dog on a bone as they ended up being in acquiring Anderson. I think of the Detroit Red Wings as being a team that's really looking for right shot D right now. And just to get back to Dallas here, I would defend Jimmy Nill. He has more than once swung for the fence. He's got a very hungry owner there, right? Tom Ghilardi and company invest deeply. The Dallas Stars are a team that provides top resources inside hockey operations, ultimately with the goal to win the Stanley Cup. The challenge that they have this year is, of course, Jason Robertson as a restricted free agent. That contract is going to be a significant one, right? He's now represented by Andy Scott, no longer Pat Brisson. And that's curious because of the slew of players that Andy Scott already represents who play for the Dallas Stars. I do feel Nill and the Stars are going to add something. I think they'd have keen interest in Nazem Kadri if it weren't for the 3 years remaining on the contract. But, maybe they can be persuaded in that sense because, maybe Naz has some flexibility beyond this year and next year where he's willing to consider other options outside of the team that he ends up with between now and the March 6th trade deadline. So I do think that Dallas, despite the fact that they've got their financial challenges with Robertson moving forward, are going to be a team that does add something because they think they're legit, and they are. They're a top contending team.
Pinder did some math for us just before the before your segment.
We love math.
The Edmonton Oilers, who the Flames will play tonight, are tied for top spot points wise in the division, but yet find themselves while it seems like the Toronto Maple Leafs are burning to the ground. There's what 1 point,
2 points separating
played. Those two teams.
It's crazy.
It is crazy. Just thoughts on Edmonton. They've made their goalie move. It doesn't look like it's been a massive improvement just yet.
Any at all. Skinner's been better.
It's going to be a fun post Olympics here up north.
Yeah, I mean, I watched that Leaf game last night in Edmonton, and it was amusing to me. You'd hear the "Go Oilers Go" and then "Go Leafs Go" right after it, and I'm not sure which one was louder. And that building at Edmonton deserves and gets a ton of credit for how loud they are and the environment that is created in Edmonton. They just didn't have it last night, and Toronto was all around better. Toronto didn't seem to have any issues keeping up pace. It was curious that I think the heat is going to be turned up on Knobloch moving forward, and already locally and probably across the province. There's been that level of speculation, and I'm not saying that a change is coming. I'm not saying that, but given the break and where the Oilers are precariously in the standings, I think that noise is going to elevate. You know, I watched Andrew Mangiapane play last night. Didn't play a lot after a turnover. But early in the hockey game, man, he, for a little guy, he had some bite. He went hard to the net, got in Anthony Stolar's face. The Leafs didn't like that. They responded, but at least he was noticeable in that game. So, I mean, collectively, hockey operations from Stan Bowman down is in the spotlight. And I think that comes with the territory when you're as top heavy as the Oilers are. And when you make trades and you make decisions as they did in goal. I mean, are they better now than they were with Stu Skinner? Doesn't look like it to me. I mean, the jury is still out. We don't know that, but they made some changes to their bottom six that haven't panned out. Mangiapane among them. So I think there's a lot of developing pressure around that team.
Well, the team not to win 3 in a row still.
Yeah, it's weird. Yeah.
For the Flames, it feels like it's kind of gone a little bit cold. Now, Blake Coleman hasn't been playing, so maybe that's part of it. Yeah. He's not going to play till after the break. And Kadri hasn't been playing as well.
Yeah.
Prior to Christmas, he was tremendous.
Been better lately.
He was their best player. And now it's gone quiet. I don't think that necessarily affects. I think if a team is interested in Kadri, they're not going to look at a small sample size like that. You mentioned 3 years, the 3 years left, and we've talked obviously for years. We've been doing this show for so long together. God, it was the immovable contract. Too many years, too much money, too old of a player. It's like, well, 3 years. Can you? Our teams can they stomach 3 years, $7 million? They have one retention spot for salary.
Yeah,
I feel like the Flames would have to facilitate any deal, not just to boost up a return. I just wonder, is it now? Is that palatable as you talk to teams and GMs?
Yeah.
What kind of baggage are teams prepared to take on if they feel that player can maybe push them over?
Yeah, I mean, a lot. I mean, you have to work within the parameters of the collective bargaining agreement. Most of the teams that are interested in Kadri are cap teams. That's what they are. And most are contending teams, right? And Stanley Cup contending teams, by the way, not just playoff contending teams. The salary retention is a complicated one because obviously if you're in need of salary retention, then you're also in a position where you feel like you can sweeten the deal. So Calgary is encouraged to retain. They're not just doing it to help somebody out. I mean, there has to be a tangible asset that's attached to that. I think it gets more creative though with the term remaining on Kadri's deal. And by that, what I mean is, okay, well, we know that the agent Darren Ferris is involved in this process to a degree. I'm not saying that he has permission to speak to other clubs. No, I mean, he respects Craig Conroy and what he's doing, but I would think that you would have those type of conversations. Okay, well, the team that's keenly interested is worried about those 3 years. Okay, well, let's, let me talk to the general manager there and maybe we can figure something out. Now, there's nothing you can do with that contract. Kadri has earned that contract. But maybe there's a wink, wink, nudge, nudge where you talk about, okay, well, we do see the fit with Nazem Kadri at center ice with us as a number 2 or in a really good team at number 3 for the next 2 years. After that, it gets challenging. So, would there be an opportunity where after 2 years we can get a little bit more creative and move him on somewhere else if he's still willing to play and he still has game left? And I think that those conversations probably happen when you get to that point of being really serious with the top 3, top 4 teams that are actually in the trade mix now.
Yeah. It just felt like one of those deals when you get into the last 2 we talked about it for when this. I'm less afraid just seeing how he's aged and how his play is.
So got it.
I'm not okay. Maybe the last year's not good, but there's
both.
A lot of players that are not going to be very good in the last year of their deals. I'm less concerned.
I'm both because I want him gone. Sounds rude. Yeah. I want him gone.
Helps this team rebuild, right?
Right? Like I don't want to be holding the bag, even if he is playing well, because I don't think he's going to play well in a situation like Calgary is going to be in, where there's no. Yeah. You know what I mean? So you're going to get worse and worse as a competitive guy in a non-competitive team. So your appeal for other teams are going to go, he's not playing as well. Well, I think he thrives on competition. Yeah. So I'm kind of like, he's playing fine. Let's move on. As a Flames organization, I don't think you need to maximize this asset.
Yeah.
Where it's just, you know what? You've been great. Better than we probably thought you were going to be with a team that isn't as good as we had hoped.
Yeah.
We brought you in to help us win, maybe take us over. Didn't happen, blah, blah, blah. You've still been great. I don't need 7 of Nazem Kadri. I've got enough veteran guys here to be leaders. Let's move him on.
Pay it forward. He gets what he needs, and we have assets.
And the longer I think the longer you hold on him, the less chance you have.
And I honestly, I think that's their approach. I mean, they're not getting peanuts for Kadri. They're not. I mean, he's a good player. And despite the fact that we've already, talked about the contract and the issues that clubs have because of his age, but those teams are trying to win a Stanley Cup this year and keep that window open. So they're not offering nothing for Kadri. And I know Conroy is talking with a number of different teams, and we know that the expression has been made. It's not an ask for a trade by the Kadri camp. It's just an acknowledgement of the direction of the team, to your point, Rhett, and realizing, okay, well, Naz isn't a real good fit in that situation. So get what you can get for me. Do me a favor and send me to a contending team, or let's talk about a trade to a contending team, and then we'll move from there. Where it might get a little bit more complicated, just for essence of conversation, he doesn't have full trade protection.
13 teams.
Yeah. What if a team that is a playoff team, or is one of those teams like Columbus, as an example? Mm-hmm. And I don't know that Columbus has interest, but do we think Nazem Kadri is going to jump up and down to go? I don't know. I mean, Columbus is on a heater right now. Maybe he does. But a team that isn't quite there, or is maybe just a wild card team right now, then I think it gets a little bit more dicey.
Can you get me to Colorado? Because I like that.
Why is Nazem even involved in the conversation? Is this not Craig trading a guy and not using the 13-team list?
That's fair.
You kind of have to cutthroat sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes you do. Yeah, you're right. But that also gets around too, right? Especially with a veteran player.
But I get stuck in the middle of this. I do, because it's I think Craig is a good person and trying to do the right thing. And if you get a bad rap around the league because you traded Kadri without having him hold your hand, maybe the Flames should be a little more cutthroat and think about themselves if that's what they have to do.
I'm sure they are.
Yeah. I don't think it's a big deal either way. No. Move them. Don't, or it
still, to me, doesn't feel like a deal that gets done this year.
No, like before the deadline. I do too. I think it gets done.
I think so.
Yeah, I do. And here's what we watch for. All right, we kind of just joked and mentioned Colorado. All of a sudden, you see Chris McFarland starting to move out pieces. and then he's making room for something, right? And not just Colorado. You could look at other clubs and come up with other examples. But as soon as teams start moving pieces out, then especially this time of year and leading up to the deadline, then it becomes obvious. And in terms of available centers, there just aren't that many guys. They're just not. It's a thin market. It's a thin market. And he's a good player. So there are some tough decisions that will be made, but I think it gets done.
Now, speaking of that, I don't know if you did. About 2 months ago, maybe a month and a half ago, Rhett gave you instructions to go in and advise Bill Zito in Florida.
Break it up
about it's not going to happen for you this year.
I'm right.
Start selling some things off. Take the year, pick high, and then come back next year with a vengeance.
Give the boys some rest too.
Yeah, Rhett put the dirt on the Florida Panthers among some others, but he says it's it. Panthers are not making the playoffs this year. But you just keep waiting because that's the way it's been. They'll figure it out. They don't. Games 1 to 20 don't matter. The first 30 games don't.
The injuries is why you really have.
And then you get injuries, and then some other teams step up to play you, and now, you're well back of a postseason spot.
Yeah. Well, I maybe wasn't buying what Rhett was selling back in the day when he said that, but I'm on that side now. I believe that. And I mean, Billy Zito I wouldn't say that he's underground. He doesn't always show his cards to guys like me, but he's been more quiet than I would say is usual. And I think part of that is just embracing the direction of this team and how much of it is entirely out of their hands. Now, we know Sam Bennett is going to the Olympics. Brad Marchand going to the Olympics. Is Bennett 100% healthy? No, he's not. Brad Marchand, no, he's not as well. But what we don't know is the significance and whether or not, either one of those guys is going to be dealing with something that lingers, when they get back from Italy. Well, Billy Zito would know that. And when you combine that with everything that they've had to deal with primary injuries to so many different players, now it seems pretty obvious that this group needs a rest and reset. And imagine how fired up they're going to be when they come back next season with everything we've just talked about. I mean, how do you not have the Florida Panthers, assuming they miss the playoffs, how do you not have them in your top 3, top 5 of Stanley Cup projections when going into next year? I think you'd have to, provided they're healthy.
They've missed so many man games from crucial guys. Like their best players, Barkov, he hasn't played all year. Like Seth Jones has now been out a long amount of time. Was it Luosterainen with the barbecue incident? Chuck missed half a year. Like it's incredible. They're in the mix. And I like to see a team go to a Cup 4-year final 4 years in a row does not feel possible. That's what they were trying to do this year.
Yeah. Yeah. You can kind of hear it in listening to Paul Maurice too, right? Like he's never going to give up on the team. There's no coach that is. No player gives up despite where you're at in the standings. I mean, guys are paid to coach and guys are paid to play. But of late, he's been even more philosophical than he usually is. I mean, he's a great quote, but I saw 2 or 3 answers from him the other day where he was talking about the lessons that are gained and learned through adversity. And for me, I'm listening to him and I'm going, I know this man well. I mean, he's giving the media terrific fodder. They can build stories around this and they don't have to talk about, hey, you're very quickly getting into the mathematics of missing the playoffs. They're not there yet, right? So he's continuing to sell hope. And maybe the adversity lessons that he's talking about are the lessons that they'll carry with them through the offseason so that they are fully recharged for next year.
Do they have their draft picks?
That's a good question.
Seriously, I think that's part of it.
They don't have their first this year or next year.
No,
but they don't need to restock. They just need to get healthy. Like
they need to get healthy.
Yeah. It doesn't hurt to add.
Sure, but they've traded their first the next 2 years and done well.
We sit here. We'll get you out of here, but just
no worries.
Watching highlights as we sit here every day and just try and pump the tires for getting younger and getting picks, and that it doesn't need to be 10 years in the cold and in the basement. Watching the Islanders last night. It's like Matthew Schaefer is 18, 18 years old, scores a goal at the end of the period, and he's sticking his tongue like he's a boy. Like, and he's just, I was looking, he's got 16 goals and 39 points. The Islanders look like they are a completely different team from not that long ago when they were old and tired. And geez, how do you ever get back? Oh, the goalie's pretty good and the coach is whatever. But that was an exciting, bloody hockey game they played last night. And they come back and win in overtime.
Yeah. And incredible how much one player can do. You know, when you go into that draft, I mean, of course, Matthew Schaefer was highly touted, obviously. And people had expectations. Nobody saw this coming. And even through the first 20 games of the regular season, I think most of us are like, all right, at some point that shoe is going to drop. This kid is going to come back down to earth, whatever his earth is, and things are going to settle. Well, that hasn't happened. And to a point where you see Matthew Darch, the general manager, doing what he's done in acquiring pieces to build around it, because this kid has been nothing but an injection for this overall organization, not just this year. So, yeah, I mean, I guess the caution flag that I put up, and especially when you look to the June draft, all right, we can expect Gavin McKenna and some of the other pieces that are talked about in the top 5 of the draft are going to be good NHL players. Be careful watching Matthew Schaefer and thinking that Gavin McKenna or any of those guys going in the top 5 are going to be that. There's never, ever a guarantee. He just happens to be. When we overuse the word generational by media, we do. I mean, how many generational players can you have in one generation?
That's right.
Like, it doesn't.
All of them.
Yeah, they're all generational.
Every year
drafted top 3 is generational. No. I mean, you have to have the skill set that puts you into that category. And it appears Matthew Schaefer is in that category.
You pick him or Celebrini right now? Because that'd be my counter. If we're going generational, I'm taking Celebrini.
Okay, and second question, him or Celebrini a year ago?
Yeah.
Celebrini a year ago.
Starting to
like, because my thing with Schaefer was he was supposed to be great, but I don't. Did we?
No one thought
anyone
not
put
like
this down on? No,
and
not
it's, like this.
It's
and I would take Celebrini just because the body of the work is bigger, right? And I still have concerns with any young defenseman. I do. And I'm not projecting that this kid is again going to fall off, but I think there's a better chance of that than Macklin Celebrini going backwards.
I just looked at his ice time because we're talking about Perek here and load management. Schaefer's 24 minutes a night average.
He's 18.
He's 18.
He just passed Bobby Orr's 18-year-old numbers.
It's pretty amazing.
Like 20 games left.
Yeah, but Zane Perek is a big physical beast out there.
It's true. Yeah.
Don't get Rhett started. Quickly get out of here, Dreg.
Any more tidying to do before the guests arrive, or?
No, the cleaning staff just arrived here.
Oh, okay.
So I'm surprised you didn't hear Tiny the Great Dane woofing in the background. But
how's Tiny?
Oh, and by the way, I'm actually not here for the guests. This is.
I was going to say, it's good of you to leave town.
Yeah, I'm going to tell a quick Dreger story. So my lovely wife, Holly, 50th birthday. Her birthday's February 2nd. So whenever the Super Bowl was around on February 2nd, 5-6 years ago, whatever it was, she said all the right things. I always go to a cottage for Super Bowl weekend, my buddy in Muskoka, and I'm leaving Friday morning for the same cottage. And she convinced me that her 50th birthday wasn't that big of a deal. So I went to the cottage. I went to Super Bowl and left her here by herself on her 50th birthday. That was a problem for the next 4 years. I think she's finally gotten over it. So celebrate her birthday the way we should.
There's brave and there's the other stupid.
Drake. Yeah, that was stupid. I'll own that one, man. That was just plain stupidity. But yeah, I'm heading out Friday morning for the annual Super Bowl weekend.
What who you like?
Seattle.
Yeah.
Seattle.
I don't like Seattle, but I think
this is as bland ho-hum a Super Bowl in terms of the pre-hype and all of that I can remember. It'll be fine. It'll be good. We'll have fun watching all the stuff, but it lacks the star power among other things. But anyway.
How's the curling go? Is it on yet? Have the Olympics started?
Yeah, we got the mixed doubles going.
2 minutes away.
I was just going to say it's coming. I've seen the promos for it. I'm excited. I'm looking forward to it.
Me too. Can't wait.
Boomer, didn't you used to call play-by-play on radio in Brandon? I know I did.
All I remember is sitting beside you at Olympic curling trials or the Scotties curling championships on a Sunday after being at the Briar Patch till about 2 and be like,
oh yeah,
this
green.
is fucking terrible.
I did play-by-play curling on Brandon radio.
Really?
Yeah, and we've got the Resby Coots Rock as the counter at the 3 o'clock position.
That's tremendous.
Brutal.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, enjoy the weekend. We're jealous.
Yes, we are.
Big pulled smoked beef going on the smoker tomorrow, getting it all ready for the weekend.
The great ones make it look easy, as I say. Thank you, Dregs.
Thanks, fellas. Have a good weekend.
Hey, buddies, thanks for watching. We appreciate it. Also, if you could throw in a like and subscribe, it does help us out with what it is we are doing. And check out more at flamesnation.ca.